that there are more Spanish native speakers than English ones? Well, yes. And sadly, the majority of Spanish native speakers have a very poor level or don't speak English at all. As you can hear, my English is not the best. In fact, I thought I was the only one who couldn't speak English. I felt alone. I don't see the screens. I felt alone. But later, I came to realize that I share this problem with another 500 million people. And this is one of the reasons why I founded Civitatis, to give the Spanish-speaking tourists the opportunity to enjoy the world in their own language. For those of you who have not heard about Civitatis, our core business is to sell both tours and activities worldwide in Spanish. In fact, I am proud to say that we are the leading company in this market with more than 3.8 million visitors in the last 12 months. So what is my goal here today? I want to offer you the possibility to expand your business, reach more customers, and improve your service. In order to do so, I want to talk about the importance of the Spanish-speaking market, especially in LATAM. So the question is, why the Spanish-speaking market? Spanish is the second most widely spoken language in the world, again with 500 million people, native people, and 600 in total. In the US alone, 60 million people speak Spanish. And the question now is, how is it possible that these 500 million people have been ignored until now? Because back in the day, Spain was the only interesting market. But now, LATAM is not emerging. It's here. That's a fact. In 2019, the mobile e-commerce has grown by 36% in LATAM, beating the rest of the world. In the last 10 years, the number of people from LATAM that travel abroad has grown massively. For instance, 210% in Argentina. If we combine the number of travelers abroad from all the Spanish-speaking countries, what do we get? A number that reaches and even exceeds the 93 million Americans that travel abroad every year. Is there any travel company in the world that will ignore the American market? Of course not. So don't ignore the Spanish-speaking market. What is even more important for you is the number of people that visit the US from the Spanish-speaking countries. As you could see, Mexico is by far the most important market with 18.5 million visitors every year, followed by Argentina and Colombia. If you are wondering about the evolution of Mexicans visiting the US, in 2017, it dropped by 6.4%, but last year, it grew again, reaching the 2016 levels. Another interesting fact of the Latin American market is the time and money they dedicate to travel. In Argentina, the average trip length is 14 nights, and Mexicans spend 30% more than the rest of the world. In fact, 25% of Mexicans travel with more than $10,000. After seeing how big the market is, I want to show you the incredible future of LATAM. Here you could see the 5 most important markets. On one hand, you could see that the smartphone penetration is high, more than 80% in the most important markets, and the people that book online through the phone is not bad, especially booking trips. In Chile, it reached 76%, so it's great. On the other hand, surprisingly, did you know that only 20% of the people in Peru have a bank account? Or that only 10% of Mexicans have a credit card? It's crazy. So if they don't have a credit card, how do they pay online? How do they book? In LATAM, only 34% of the online transactions are done with international credit cards. The problem is that the rest, the other 66%, is done with local payment methods, such as domestic credit cards, bank transfers, or cash payments. The real problem is that these 66% of customers can't pay with a foreign currency or book in an international website. This problem is even bigger in Argentina, because 78% of the payments are done locally. And I would like to show you how the cash payment works in LATAM, because for me it's amazing, especially after knowing that 30% of the people in Argentina and 40% in Mexico pay this way. So when somebody book online and choose to pay in cash, they receive a code, and with that, they have to go to a convenience store like OXXO or 7-Eleven and pay in cash. The merchant have to wait almost 1 week to receive the payment. So, as you could see, LATAM is not for beginners. Apart from the payment problem we have seen, we could not say that LATAM, we could not consider it as a unique market, because every country is a world of its own and has its particular problems. For instance, in Argentina, the currency is very volatile. It fell by 30% in August. Mexico has the highest fraud rate in the world. Dealing with chargeback in Colombia is almost impossible. And Venezuela has all these problems and more. So working in LATAM is much more complex or expensive than in the US or in Europe. So if you want to grow your sales in LATAM, I want to share with you 5 things that we are already doing in Civitatis. 1, you have to localize your website. And localize is not only translating. You have to focus on the different markets in LATAM. I mean, in every word, every country uses a different word for the same term, and this is especially important in the payment process, for example. You need to include local payment methods. If you want to include local payments that is necessary to sell, it's mandatory to open a local company in each of these countries or work with a local payment processor such as eBanks or dLocal. You need to offer installments. If you want to sell, let's say, in Argentina, it's not only to charge them in Argentinian pesos. You have to offer them the possibility to pay in installments. In fact, 77% of the payments in Argentina are made in installments. You need to use a mobile-first strategy because, as it happens in Asia, most people in LATAM have never had a computer, and they started using internet directly with a smartphone. Last, and the most important for the Spanish-speaking tourist, is to have a good monolingual product. In other words, we prefer tours where only Spanish is spoken. So please, don't make us join an English tour with a Spanish translation or a multilingual one. Lastly, I want to share with you 5 interesting things about the Latino traveler. It will help you to offer them a great service. Holidays. Holidays in LATAM, apart from Mexico, are taken between November and February. So it's perfect to counteract the low season in the US or in Europe. What about punctuality? People in LATAM and also in Spain are, in general, less punctual than the Americans or the other Europeans. We say things like, my wife is having a shower, we are still having breakfast. And in fact, one of our partners set a different starting time for Latinos. Shopping. Latinos love shopping. They really appreciate to receive recommendations about what to buy and where. A Spaniard like me will say, don't stop in shops. But a Mexican will say, when are we going to stop for shopping? What about taking pictures? Latinos love taking pictures and using social media even more than you. In Mexico, they spend 3.5 hours per day using social media. So in tours, they really like to have more free time, and they really appreciate a tour guide that takes good pictures. Last but not least, as they like to take pictures and their time for traveling is limited, they want to see as many places in as little time as possible. They don't want to choose between Washington and Philadelphia. They want to see both places in the same day. So what can we conclude from all of this? Spanish is the second most spoken language in the world, with 500 million native speakers. The growth of countries in Latam is much higher than in the rest of the world. The current problems like payment difficulties or the low internet access rate are inconvenience that once resolved, it will result in even more growth. So in Civitatis, we know we are betting in the winning horse. Now is the time for you, tour and activity operators, to do something different and become leaders in this market, a market that is growing year after year and it's full of opportunities for all of us. Gracias.
Alberto, thank you. So I'm just putting myself in the shoes of an operator. I've got my listings on TripAdvisor, on Expedia, on Get Your Guide. They cover the globe. Maybe I'm listing with Klook too. Why do I need another OTA, a smaller OTA like Civitatis? What are you going to do for me?
Douglas, trust me, our partners care more about the thousands of travelers we send them every month than some other companies' investment rounds. When I started working with Hassan, my partner in Marrakech, he had 4 cars. Now he has 10 cars, 6 buses, 2 desert camps, and 1 hotel, thanks to us. So I am pretty sure that Hassan values more his own finances than the global ones. Apart from that, we don't ask for exclusivity. We are just another selling channel for tour operators, but the key channel for those operators that want to reach the Spanish-speaking market.
So, okay, and you're a specialist in the Spanish-speaking market. Good. So, however, you're a smaller company. You haven't raised money, and there's all sorts of fundraising that's happening. You've got a couple of companies in the market, of course, Klook and Get Your Guide, that have raised a combined more than $1 billion. When they decide to set their sights on LATAM, and I think maybe they are starting to get focused, I mean, how is a company like yours going to compete?
Since the very beginning, we have bet about the quality of the content, the localization, the organic growth, and making smart decisions. This is why we are leaders in the Spanish-speaking market, and we are growing 100 year over year. We are not going to change our strategy. We are going to potentiate it. In the first 9 months of this year, we have added more products than in the first 11 years. So we are growing more every day. Now, it's our best moment, and we are accelerating daily. So.
Okay, well, you do have some stiff competition, but it looks like you're in a pretty good position as well, so we'll see how the market plays out. Ladies and gentlemen, Alberto Gutierrez, Civitatis. Thank you.